Hello and welcome to another episode of O Faces. I'm your host, Mrs. Mocha.
And this is Mr. Mocha joining my wife tonight. We're going to have a little fun. You guys had a great time yesterday, so we decided to hop on and do a little Friday Night Live. We had some great conversation with the Dirty Girls Corner yesterday, or dating. So I decided to jump in and have a little fun with the wife.
He does that on occasion.
So yesterday you guys had some real interesting topics. You guys were really talking about, you talked about a lot of stuff where, a lot of guys opened up yesterday. That was pretty cool. A lot of guys are a little, as guys have to be more careful about their sexual desires and fantasies. They have to kind of live inside of the box. We talk a lot about how
sexually empowering women.
Yeah. Because, for men, the difference between men and women is men, we are expected to do a lot of fucking. But men are expected to do a lot of just traditional fuck as many chicks as you want. It is socially expected for men to have more partners than women. It's socially acceptable in a lot of circles for men to even cheat. But
I think that's why some men cheat with other men or maybe, I don't want to say cheat, but do things like bisexual things with other men without saying stuff because they're terrified of what they'll be considered gay or
absolutely,
whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. I think that, especially when you get into different things. I know you guys talked about like male ass play last night.
Megan talked about prostate massages,
pegging, different things like that. I know a lot of guys. It's interesting because I've played with, a lot of couples who say, oh, well, we have guys do this all the time, but, guys never want to admit it. And that is true. Most guys don't want to admit when they want to, explore whether it be their bisexual side or even if it's not a bisexual thing, if they want a woman to touch their ass, fondle their ass, lick their ass, finger their ass. I think guys are shy about that because obviously, everything goes to, oh, well, you're gay.
Well, I've even, we can go as far as I know that there are some bulls that have gotten their dick sucked by like cucks and stuff, and they can't tell anyone because
absolutely.
that might be that'd be a judgment zone.
Yeah, it creates that stigma,
It's not masculine enough.
And I think, what's funny is what I have found, especially talking to a lot of bulls, that the second they do anything that's outside the quote-unquote norm, the couples who don't approve of that will put them into a box and they won't play with them. So most of your bulls who are...
we've even seen on SDC where... like the profile says bisexual, but they're both bisexual, and we've had people say to us like, "Oh, well, don't I won't talk to them because just because the guy's bisexual doesn't mean he's going to try to do shit to you."
Exactly.
That means that's what they, like calm the fuck down, dude.
Exactly. Exactly.
He may be bisexual, but I feel like most lifestyle people are pretty respectful.
Yeah, it's like, what do you expect then? We're not going to play with that couple because the guy's bisexual. What do you worry? He's going to fucking club you in the head and fuck you in the ass? I don't think it works like that.
Yeah.
And I think that is, you go back to the whole concept of being in the lifestyle and, most lifestyle people are quick to go, oh, well, the lifestyle is no judgment zone. But, the lifestyle definitely have people who judge. People definitely judging lifestyle.
It's a judgment of various things. It's not just guys doing that. It's a judgment of
anything that you don't do.
Yeah, like even when we first got into the lifestyle, like we probably had a few judgy people about me because I'm so open.
Yeah, sexually open.
Right, and I think that it may have been a little jealousy. And I don't want to say they're jealous of me. They're just jealous of our dynamic.
People get jealous when they watch other people doing things that they don't have the courage or the ability to do. And I think that in our society, that's what happens. People identify something that they don't have the courage to do. You know, we've talked about people who we know personally, you know, who are gay bashers, and, you know, they had, in our opinion, it's because
something happened to them that traumatized them into that, or some idiot.
Or even not even that. I think a lot of times it's that they have a desire to do that, but because they can't do it, they have to overcompensate and bash. Oh, well, if everyone hears me bashing this guy for being gay, then they'll think I'm
never
not
suspect
gay.
me.
You know, it's like, or they'll think I don't have those desires. And it's like, this is 2021. This is about to be 2022. Mm-hmm. We live in a society where
we're a lot more sexually
a man
free.
Can marry a man.
Yeah.
You know, the transgender community is really blossoming and accepted. Mm-hmm. So, to me, anything that you want to do sexually that's not illegal, or, you know, obviously, you know, when I say illegal, I mean, you know, you don't want to be fucking with kids or nothing like that. But anything that happens with 2 consenting adults or 20 consenting adults, you know, I think that whatever that is, you should be able to do it. Like, there's certain things that I may not be interested in doing, but I'm going to embrace it. If that's your thing, absolutely go for it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that's where. And
it doesn't mean we'll shy away from talking to you. We're both pretty clear about boundaries and things, so it's easy for either of us to say, like, hey, if that's your thing, cool, but that's not what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just like even the many times in the lifestyle that I've had women that are going to turn me out.
Oh, my God. Let me get you started on that.
And it's just as bad as, like, the women that say, the women that say that, oh, these men are like super aggressive and this, that, and the other. Well, bitch, you're doing the same thing. You're over here intimidating me, telling me that you're gonna.
No, her and her husband.
You're gonna turn me out.
The guy and his wife were, you know. So there was a couple, cool couple, and they were saying, you know, they were trying to convince my wife that they're going to make her bisexual, because women who want to turn another woman out, well, my wife, I'm not interested in that. Oh, well, that's because you haven't been with the right woman. You know,
somebody hasn't done it
someone
right,
hasn't
or
done
blah,
it
blah,
right.
blah. Yeah.
And, you know, she's like telling this couple that, you know, she's not interested. And they're both pushing kind of hard, which at that point, I'm like watching this situation and we're interacting. And I'm saying to myself, had that been a guy talking to a woman after she said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And he kept going, oh, well, you know, you're not interested in fucking me because, you know, you haven't been fucked right before. And I can make you want to fuck me. And I can do that. Like, that would have been offensive. So I'm watching this couple. And I said to the husband, I said, hey.
Oh, God, I forgot about that part.
I said, hey, the problem that we have is she doesn't like women. Oh, well, we can turn around. I said, how would you like it? And I got right in his face and stared him dead in the eyes and said, how would you like it if I told you that I was going to fuck you in the ass and you were going to like it? The look on his face was fucking priceless. I said, that's exactly what you're doing to my wife right now. We respect that you guys like to play with women, that your wife likes women, but you have to respect the fact that my wife, you know, that's not her deal. You know, and, you know, there was never a point where we were like, oh, that's terrible. It's just, she likes dick. You know, you like what you like.
And then there have been a few couples that have shied away from us because of that.
A few couples.
Yeah, you're right. But, I mean, like we said, that is what it is. I mean, like, everybody has their preference. And that, I can't say that, I can say that I'm not completely into women, but I can't say that I won't play with a woman.
She's bisexual.
Yes.
You know, if there's a woman who she finds particularly attractive, who's not pushy, and
I know that she's not all about just like playing solo. Like if we're just sharing a penis, that's fine.
Oh yeah, you know, she'll share a cock all day.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally good with sharing a cock.
You know, you've had a couple times where, like, you've surprised me and surprised yourself because some woman just turned you on because it just happened. It wasn't her going, oh, you don't like women? Well, what's wrong with you? Like,
yeah, the chick at trap.
Oh, my God. That more than just, I mean, there's been a number of women who've, you know, come at you like, well, why don't you like women? Because she likes dick.
It's not that like I don't like women.
You're very selective.
Yeah.
You're extremely selective.
Yeah, because.
And pushy, no matter how hot you are or how. And I think.
But pushy with a guy or a girl is the same. Yeah, I'm like, oh, well, that was. There's even been a few times that Mr. Mocha has had, a guy here come over to play with me, and as soon as Mr. Mocha's usually home when I do stuff, if it's someone I've never played with before, and he walked upstairs, and as soon as he walked upstairs, the guy started he was different, and he was like saying different stuff and stuff that I was uncomfortable with, because even though we play very freely, I have my own set of rules, or we have our own set of rules, and Mr. Mocha knows that.
And Mrs. Mocha has very few boundaries, but the boundaries that she has, she sticks firm to them. Mm-hmm. And so, anyone who knows me well enough to know, they know that the second you make my wife uncomfortable, then I'm a different person. Mm-hmm. And like I don't really have much of a filter when it comes to guys.
You don't have a filter? What?
I got a filter for ladies. I'm nice to ladies.
You are. Sometimes, though, I have to say, like, Daddy, please be nice.
Yeah. I feel like if I'm being honest, and generally, it's not even that I have to be nice, is when a person behaves in a way that I would not behave to them, then how I respond is how I respond. Like, the second you abandon common courtesy, I'm going to abandon it too, and I'm probably going to do it better. So, most people understand that about me, so they stay pretty courteous. And
you don't have any gray area. You're very black and white. Yeah.
Well, you've made me better.
Yes, I have.
You've healed me of. You've made me better. At
your shit.
Ways. Yeah.
So, should we talk about the man scissoring?
Oh my God! Yeah, go ahead.
So we were looking at something on Twitter, and
it's Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, Mrs. Mocha, if you haven't figured out now, she enjoys all porn. She likes, regular porn. She likes transgender porn. She likes bisexual porn. She likes all porn. Mm-hmm. So she's like
except scat or
yeah. I mean,
I'm okay without the golden shower stuff.
Yeah, like no scat. None. I'm gonna pee on you soon.
That's fine.
Okay. But anyways,
I'll allow it.
But I don't necessarily want to watch it.
Right.
I never really want to pee on anybody until Splash, when somebody's like, "Hey."
She was so eager for you to do it.
She was like,
yeah,
"Hey, can you pee on me?" I'm like, okay.
She was listening last night.
I'll pee on you.
Yeah, she was listening last night. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I agree. Like I think there's some things like once you get a visual or there's a certain way that you were turned on by that particular thing, that how I like got even into watching like gay or bi porn was because I went to what Love Shack, is that what it's called?
The sex store, yeah.
Yeah, the sex store, Love Shack. And sorry. We got allergies here in Georgia. So I go to the sex store with one of my friends, and we go past like the gay porn section. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, well that's kind of fucking hot. All right. So I go through, and of course I never we didn't buy any movies or anything, because at that time you got, YouTube was still letting you watch whatever you wanted to watch. So kind of after that, I was like, okay, that's kind of like a turn on to me. But it took me a long time to even tell Mr. Mocha about like any of those type of fantasies that I had, because he's such a bull. I was worried about I didn't want him to be turned off. Not that I thought that, I just didn't know what your reaction would be.
Yeah, she would tell me, like, I would ask her, like, what are your fantasies? Like, what are your wildest fantasies? And she would tell me, like, the simple ones, but, she would kind of say, well, there's some that I just can't tell you, which, of course, is going to make me want to hear them. Like, now I want to know what they are. You're telling me you can't tell me. And finally, one day I said, listen, you're mine and your fantasies are mine. I want to know what they are. And don't tell me any bullshit. And I'm telling you, when she opened the floodgate, opened, baby,
remember the first time I told you was on the phone because you were out of town. Because I was too embarrassed to say it in person. So we were like on the phone. I remember I was like playing with the machine.
Yeah.
And you were telling me, like, telling you everything that I thought. And yeah, that was like, I think your dick was hard for like, we fucked a lot when you came home.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it came down to the fact that she trusted me enough to tell me her fantasies, you know, and I've always been intrigued by sexuality in general. I mean, there's things that I may not want to do or things that I may not be interested in, but I'm also...
The turn on for you was that I was so open about what I liked. Yeah.
She was open about it, and here's the thing, like, nothing freaks me out. Like, one of my best friends, he's relatively new in the lifestyle, and he's still easily freaked out by certain things. But
you had already been a bull in several cuck situations and different things like that. Yeah, so you had a little experience on certain things. Yeah,
you know, I had a lot of experience when it came to being a bull. So, you know, as an experienced bull, you will have people ask you to do a lot of things, and you know, you learn to set your boundaries, but you also learn not to be offended. And there's a lot of things
that are said.
Oh yeah.
That even like the first time that you came home and like kind of told me about it, I wasn't like freaked out, but I was like intrigued and like, oh damn, all at the same time. Like, oh, that's kind of, you know, that was kind of fucking hot. But yeah, the first time I ever told him about my bi guy fantasy was on the phone because I couldn't tell him in person. But like I said, it was only because I was so worried about. And he'd never been judgmental, so I don't want anybody to think like, oh, he's super judgmental about everything. So that was like the scare, because it wasn't that. It was more I was just worried about what he would. I was worried about turning you off.
Yeah,
because I knew it was something that you weren't particularly like something that you would want to do, but. Then I realized after that, like, wow, I mean, like, he was super turned on by it, even though he would be turned on.
I want you to do it.
Yeah, he would be turned on if I did it, which made the fantasy that much better, because it was something we could discuss together and not, you know.
Which I think brings me to another interesting thing that we've spoken to so many couples. And oftentimes, like for me, there's certain things that you want to experience. I may not want to experience it, but I'm going to be turned on because you're turned on by it. I'm going to be excited for you, and I can be excited for you and not necessarily do it. And I think that it comes down to being in a relationship where you're very selfless, where you want to see your partner pleased. You know, actually before the podcast yesterday, Megan and I had a really, really good conversation while you were upstairs.
Eating Chick-fil-A.
Eating Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
While you're upstairs with your Chick-fil-A. But one of the things that we talked about is the desire that you have to please your mate or see your mate pleased. And I don't think that many couples truly have a desire to see their mate pleased, which I think it's they're happy that their mate is pleased, but like it turns me on to watch my wife get fucked. It turns me on when I was out of town last week and you fucking You got pounded the whole week that I was gone, and you sent me messages and let me know how good it was and things like that. Like, to me, it's being able to experience those things with you, even though, maybe I don't want to jump in with it, but I can enjoy it for you.
I'll throw it out there today, though. I did play with the guy's ass.
Oh, yeah, she sure did. She sure did.
I did, and it was kind of like it was a surprise, which made it like even better. Because it was so unexpected.
Yeah, she texted me like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this.
Yep. I definitely was. I was excited about it, though.
You actually pegged the guy before.
I have. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But it's still like, for me, I think I'm okay in any situation as long as it's exciting. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. I mean... when the mood hits you, you just dive in. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, no one's ever going to beg my ass. That's never going to happen. But, you know, I'm not particularly big into ass play, like, from my own standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, hell, look, how long did it take me to actually let you lick my ass?
I don't know. You surprised me with that, too. Like, you just kind of stuck my head down there. I was like, okay.
Well, you kept talking about it. Like, I want to do this. It's like, okay, fuck it.
I mean, why not? You only live once, you know?
Yeah.
You might as well do like the shit that you like and the things that are fun. And I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? You catch something?
Catch something.
I'm just fucking with you.
I think that the one thing that people tend to try to ignore in the lifestyle, that it is human nature to push boundaries. We are in a lifestyle where we have access to excess. Mm-hmm. You know, and some people go, oh, well, we don't have access to excess. Well, the average person, listen, you can go to trap one night and have sex with more people than the average person will have sex with their entire life. Mm-hmm. And as you get into the lifestyle and you really become truly, you know, part of the lifestyle, you're going to push your boundaries. It's nature to push your boundaries. And I think the problem is a lot of people will get to a point where, okay, well, I've done this. They got into the lifestyle to push their boundaries, but then they get into the lifestyle and they say, okay, well, that's far enough. So you have one partner who wants to go further, or both partners want to go further, but they start to worry about, well, what will people think about us? But they forgot that when you first got into the lifestyle, it was the same thing. What will people think about us? Mm-hmm. You know, so.
Like you said earlier, though, like it took us a long time to start even seeking out. We loved all the people that we played with. We just, like Mr. Mocha said, I feel like we kind of hit a wall. Like we kind of done as much as we could do with couples. I don't want to say couples, but how would you say it? We just kind of hit a wall because I got bored, and I think Mr. Mocha got a little bored. So we got to like a point where we didn't know where else to go or what to do.
I think we just got bored with with the way people wanted to play. We first got into the lifestyle and people were very judgmental of us because we were considered sport fuckers.
Which we are.
We were, you know, we had our connection together and we just wanted to meet people, have sex. Mm-hmm. And I guess my thought process has always been the same. I'm in a lifestyle. I'm in love with my wife. I don't want to have to date your wife to fuck her. Now, if we're in a lifestyle and I meet your wife and I meet you guys and we hit it off and we play, there are some people who are just fun to have sex with. There's some people that you have things in common with and you create this organic friendship, this organic relationship. Mm-hmm. But to me, that is not a stipulation. And I could be wrong for saying this, but even when I'm looking at people's profiles on SDC, it's often, oh, well, we don't want bed hoppers. For you to say that.
We said before, though, that we've had people tell us, well, if you fuck this person, we're not going to fuck you. Like, okay.
Yeah, or people who say, well, you know, people want to have that sensation that they're unique. Oh, well, are you only fucking us? Or we don't want bed hoppers. First things first, let me tell everybody this.
We were bed hoppers before we met.
the only person that you're going to be 100% honest with until you create a real friendship is your spouse. Uh-huh. So oftentimes people will say, well, we don't want to meet you if you're bed hoppers. No one's going to say, oh, you know something, we're bed hoppers. No, we will because, you know, we are very honest about ours. But 99.9% of people won't say, oh, yeah, you know, we just had a date last week and we fucked this person, or we fucked a new person every week. They're not going to tell you that. So for you to put that on a profile, we're not interested in bed hoppers, that tickles the shit out of me because who is going to be completely honest and upfront about their sexual experiences when they first meet you?
Though.
I don't know you.
Even if you're not a swinger, you could be a single fucking dude.
Exactly.
And you've probably fucked 10 chicks in a week. And I told you the other day there was someone that I know is a sport fucker, and he posted something about.
Oh yeah.
God, what did it say? Something about like if all my friends have tapped it, like I can't do it, and I'm thinking to myself like, dude, I've seen you fuck at least 20 chicks.
Exactly.
How would that matter?
With my own eyes.
Right. So how does that matter?
Or couples like for the couples who put those don't be bed hopper stipulations, okay, let me help you out here. What woman has ever met a man on her first date and go, you know something? I fucked 30 dudes in my life. Or, I fuck people every day. No one fucking does that. So chances are the people who you meet who goes, oh, we're not bed hoppers, they're fucking bed hoppers.
Hell, I didn't tell Mr. Mocha that I'd fucked 7 guys in 3 days until probably...
Mr. Mocha didn't give a fuck.
That's until later on, the week that I met him.
Yeah, listen, I didn't care because, once Mr. Mocha dives in, then, my thing is an interview. 7 guys got the interview and I got the job, so who cares?
Oh, that's so sweet.
But
I know you like me a little bit.
Yeah, I like you every once in a while.
Yeah.
You all right.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, we've talked about. It's just don't be fucking judgmental, man. Have your rules and your boundaries, but don't be shitty to other people because they have their thing, because you have your own thing.
And your rules and boundaries should be only. Your rules and boundaries should apply to only you and your spouse, because in reality, let's look at the truth of the matter. You can only control yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't control other couples. And for you to think that you're going to meet a couple online and they're going to be 100% honest with you, 1% of the couples that you meet are going to be that honest. Mm-hmm. Okay? For us, our lives are in the public.
Yeah.
So we really, at the end of the day, we are who we are. And
what do you always say? We don't give a fuck.
I mean, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going to be honest. And the fact is, it's interesting. People think we play with so many people, but we have such a hard time finding people to play with because we're very honest and very direct. Don't get me wrong. We want to make friendships, but
it's also easier for us.
It's not the stipulation. It's not, hey. It's like to me, like saying, all right, well, we're going to go play basketball, and me telling some dude, hey, listen, I know I'm a basketball player and you're a basketball player, but I'm not going to play basketball with you until we're best friends. Yeah. Listen, you're a swinger, I'm a swinger. No, we're going to fuck, and we're going to just organically have conversation. Mm-hmm. The woman who you married or the guy that you married, did you meet that person and go, hey, I'm not going to fuck you until we're married? Yes, some people did, but usually that's not how it works. You fuck. And then you find out you got some shit in common. And wow, it's a great conversation. Man, I like that couple. I want to hang out with them. And our best friends, all of our best friends, we've literally fucked and was like, wow, we've got shit in common with them.
Yep. And we're and they're cool as fuck. And it was always a fuck first, friends later.
Yeah.
And one of our best friends now, she became our best friend because when one of the kids was in the hospital, she was in the hospital and she reached out to me randomly. She's like, she lived an hour away. And she said to me, I think we were friends on Facebook or something. And she said to me, hey, I saw your post. If you need me to bring you anything, let me know. To his lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And she literally drove. And we met 3 times before that. We played 3 times before that. And this chick was so willing just to help. She was like, oh, yeah, I would go. And they've been our friends since then.
Yeah.
I mean, I think organic is just so much easier. Yeah. But we should get back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the main topic is we started off, we digress, but I think the main topic was really just sexual freedom and also just the male sexual freedom, because the misconception is that men have sexual freedom. Men have the freedom to be as promiscuous as they want to be, but they
have restrictions on that.
Yes.
Yep. And just
because a woman being bisexual is perfectly fine.
Oh, everybody wants that.
Yeah, that's what everyone wants. But if dude says, hey, I'm bisexual, it's like, whoa, hold on. I mean, how the fuck can you do that?
Well, and I will be honest. Since we've started, we've kind of talked to, because before we went to Mocha, we hadn't. Mr. Mocha had experienced cut couples, but I had not. And the dynamic was very intriguing to me because it was so, I like things that I don't know about. I like for people to educate me and say certain things, and I like to be able to ask certain things, if that makes sense. I just, because it was such an interesting dynamic, it how do you say it? It piqued my interest. since we've done that, I still have not experienced an actual couple myself, but I can't say that I haven't wanted to, but because I like to be educated on things before I go into it, I would say that I'm not experienced. But if someone said to me like, hey, this is how things work for us, or this is how things work for our specific dynamic, like I'm open to it. I am a very good listener. I take instruction very well. And I also like to be very respectful of people's rules and boundaries. And I know that not all couples are the same. But hold on. Oh, Mr. Mocha's having a malfunction. But I know not all couples are the same, but I want to hear everyone's dynamics. Like, I want to know about it. Like, that it's just something that interests me a lot. And I know, like I said, Mr. Mocha's experienced a lot of different things. So as far as couples go, and so for me, just to live vicariously through him sometimes is a turn on.
Yeah, and from a bull standpoint, I will say that you will encounter a lot of things because there's so many different varieties of cuckold couples. Uh-huh. You have what I would say the mild to the extreme.
What is it? Cuck humiliation?
You have humiliation. Mm-hmm. And now I say that everyone has their own definition of things. Mm-hmm. So when I think of a cuckold couple, I think that it's a situation where you have a male in a relationship who enjoys what society would view as humiliation. All right. The milder cuckold couples, it may not be necessarily what he may not want the verbal humiliation from the guy. Mm-hmm. All right.
He may just want it from the wife and see her get fucked.
Or it can be simply him putting himself, from the very mildest is him putting himself in a submissive role to her, not necessarily the bull, where he sits back and he simply watches. There's no verbal humiliation, anything like that. It's just that feeling of watching someone fuck your wife.
And being turned on by it.
And really just having that hint of humiliation. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's a situation where there is no humiliation, and when I say humiliation, it's, in the mildest form is what society would consider humiliating. Mm-hmm. Society says that if you're sitting there watching your wife get fucked by a guy, that should be humiliating. Now, hold on. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes when you're looking at just a hot wife situation, the difference, in my opinion, is it's simply a guy who enjoys showing off his wife, sharing his wife, because he's so proud of what he has.
So more
he
of
wants
a hot
to
wife.
share it. So there's a hot wife dynamic because there is no humiliation involved in that. The cuckold dynamic, from the very mild where, yes, there is a level of humiliation there for him, to the extreme where, yes, you have some where, I've played with couples where my first cuckold experience, the wife was very degrading to the husband, very, very degrading, which is probably one of the funniest experiences I've ever had just because I wasn't prepared for it.
Right. It's like someone's first time walking into the sex club. You're like,
oh,
God.
They didn't tell me that this was going to happen. I mean, even down to having situations where, I've been in a situation where the husband was tied up in a corner. I've been in a situation where the husband was human furniture. I mean, there's been a lot of different things. That could be shocking. Well, of course, by that time it wasn't shocking, but
I'm saying, like, if you didn't know that you were going into that, it could be a little shocking. Yeah.
Once you get to human furniture, no, you're not going to step into that without knowing. The first experience, I didn't know just because it was what it was. Mm-hmm. But when you start getting really into a lot of the more extreme, the more experienced couples who are going to say, hey, this is what we're into. Are you okay with this? Because there's going to be boundaries. A wife may say, listen, I can humiliate my husband, but you can't. You may have a wife that is very quiet and just as submissive, but you are the one that's doing the humiliation. Mm-hmm. You can have things, times where you have a husband who will do everything from be blindfolded, be tied up, be put in panties, skirt, You have husbands that want to clean up. You have, there's so many extremes to it. And as a bull, what you do is say, hey, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I'm not comfortable with. And like the conversation I had before with the group at Mocha, the cuckold couple, before the experience starts, bears a lot of responsibility by, unfortunately, they have to be honest and say, this is what we like, this is what we've done, and this is what we would like to do. How can you fit into our dynamic? And if the guy's a true bull, he's going to be able to say, okay, I can do this, I can't do that. So these are the boundaries we have to work within. And then you can agree. But oftentimes cuckold couples, especially because, the
they
wife
shy
or
away
the husband,
from certain things because of the extremes.
Well, not because of the extremes, but because of the communication. The wife or the husband will see this guy who, he's attractive, he's what she wants, he's what he wants, or he's what they both want. And they're afraid to say, hey, you know something? My husband would like to suck your cock. Are you okay with that? And because you still have the guy who's going, oh, well, I don't want to say this out loud. I want to put myself out there, as opposed to, you guys are getting hot and heavy and then the husband just, reaches for your meat without talking to you first, so it's one of those situations where the couple has that responsibility to first say, hey, these are the things we're into. And then I can say, listen, I'm comfortable with this, and this, but I'm not comfortable with that. And now we've set our boundaries, and now we can take this as far as we can take it.
I mean, honestly, though, I feel like if you wanted to really compare it to something, the comparison could be that you are, in comparison to soft swapping, or just like I don't want to say in comparison, but there are soft swappers, there's full swap, there's people that just are voyeurs or whatever. So, I mean, in comparison as far as extremes, you know what I mean? Like, this is what some people do. This is what other people do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in cuckolding, you have the mild to the extreme. And it really just comes down to communication. And it takes a lot because in that dynamic, it turns into a trust thing. It's a big deal with trust where you have...
Well, because the bull may not want people to know that a dude sucked his dick.
Oh yeah,
and that's a huge
thing.
Real.
I mean, that's a huge thing because even with a lot of the bulls who we've talked to and we've counseled, you have bulls say all the time, well, it's very common for bulls to say, okay, listen, I can't say that I'm okay with this because then other couples that I play with are going to turn me off because you're going to have guys who play with everything from single women to hot wife couples to cuckold couples. And once again, we go back into the fact that although we would think there's no judgment in lifestyle, there is. So you have a couple that go, oh, wait, he let someone do this. So no, I'm not comfortable with him. I mean, even for us, it's like, look, I have no problem playing in a room with a guy who's bisexual because, I mean, he's not going to, it's not like I'm worried about him trying to do something to me,
But there are many couples that'll say no.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I can't do that. But, I mean, it is what it is at this point. Like Mr. Mocha said earlier, though, you should just seek out what you want or what you like.
Yeah.
You know?
Mean, that's what, and there's the challenge. I mean, a lot of time the challenge is,
it's like a secret society inside of a lifestyle. Yeah. Seriously, just like we're always saying, slut sisters and empower them and empower this and that. I mean, I want not even just cuckolds, but bisexual men or just gay men in general.
Keep in mind, all cuckolds are not bisexual men.
Right. But
that is that is not something that, and I think that's a common misconception. All cuckold husbands are not bisexual men. In fact, most cuckold couples are not bisexual men. Mm-hmm. There are some, and then they don't identify as bisexual men because at that point, the bull would have to identify as a bisexual man. Mm-hmm. Now, if we go by the definition itself, then yes, you'd have to say that. But, I don't really mince words. But either way, why not embrace embrace what you are. And that's because society says you can't. And I think that's the sad thing in the lifestyle. A lot of people can't be themselves because they are still concerned that they're going to get judged or they're going to lose opportunities because, people see them a certain way.
I think that Scarlett said it really well on one of the episodes, though, as that the last Mocha was the most open we've seen some of the cut guys. Mm-hmm. They were, walking around in their like skirt, or what were they? It was a schoolgirl night.
You had some guys walking around in their skirts. You had some guys in pantyhose, chastity. Mm-hmm. And listen, I got to give a shout out to Mike from Keys and Anklets because he really did assist with creating an environment for cuckold couples.
Yeah.
And cuckold couples to kind of open up and be comfortable. I have to give him a big shout out. And I was impressed by that for the level of encouragement that he put out there for these guys to be in an environment where there were a lot of people who were not into that, but they still...
That was the first time I'd ever seen a guy in chastity in person. Yeah, was in one of the rooms.
Yeah. So shout out to Mike from Keys and Anklets.
Yeah.
And then of course, Scarlett, Anya.
Yeah.
I think that they. I think those two ladies are a really strong force. Just because, without even trying to educate and open things up, they just do it. Kind of like you do, where it's just like. Like they make it seem like it's like, oh, you don't do this?
Yeah, here we go.
You're not comfortable with this? What's wrong with you?
We're about to do this. If you don't like it, then oh well. But, I think the part that I guess irritates me the most is that I lost my train of thought. Can you turn the porn off, man?
Listen, the porn is part of this. We always watch porn during the podcast.
I'm so sorry.
We're watching Deep Throat Sirens right now.
Mr. Mocha is distracting that.
She's trying to deep throat a 4-inch penis. Like, how is that challenging?
It is what it is.
It's got to at least be challenging. That's like eating a Vienna sausage. No offense to 4-inch penises.
What sausage?
Vienna, the little Vienna
you
sauce?
Said you didn't say Vienna. You said drunk Vienna. You said drunk Vienna.
The vodka may have helped me speak
drunk Vienna. But I was just going to say that the thing that pisses me off the most about that whole stigma is when people don't understand something, they automatically make a judgment on something you don't even fucking know about. I have to say, like, pre-lifestyle, I probably had some judgmental moments about certain things.
Oh, yeah.
But now, since I've been in lifestyle for so long, I don't... Ooh, who's calling?
Keep going.
Since I've been in lifestyle for so long now, there's not many things that I would care to judge people on.
There's not really anything that you shy away from.
I'm much more... The more open you are, the more I'm intrigued by you. Because I like new and different things. I can't do the same thing over and over and over again. Like, I think I had a question last night about, I can't remember who asked, but do I want a regular bowl or do I prefer regular bowls or multi different ones every time? I can't really say because I don't like the same thing every day. I'm in a different mood every single day. Some days I want to be a vanilla. Some days I want to be a super whore. Sometimes I just want to be a lovemaking whore. I don't want to say lovemaking, but I want more passionate sex. You can ask Mr. Mocha. I'm pretty bipolar sexually.
But here's the thing. I think that, when it comes to sex, especially once you've been in a lifestyle, that's the deal. The deal is you are not necessarily looking for the same old. In fact, at that point, you're looking for variety, you're looking for the excitement. And once again, it's human nature to push your boundaries. That's why every year there's a faster fucking car. That's why every year, your cell phones are better. So when it comes to sexuality, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over, keep in mind, once you step into the lifestyle, you've already stepped into a very small percentage of what society calls acceptable. So who does anything and stops? Anything that's not growing dies. At some point, once you've been in it for so long, you're going to push your boundaries. And I think that takes us back full circle where there are so many guys in the lifestyle who are forced to be in a box.
But there's also just women in the lifestyle that are forced to be in a box.
Well, women,
it's just a different
box. We're
box.
talking about two different boxes. I mean,
it's
the
different box.
whole concept of the Dirty Rose Corner is you being able to encourage women to be sexually liberated. But you're also looking at the fact, like I said, with men are encouraged to be promiscuous, but men are not encouraged to be adventurous.
Right.
For the guys out there who says, hey, I would like to. The guys out there who do have other sexual desires outside of what is traditional, I mean, they are going to be ostracized. They are going to be looked down upon. They're going to be judged. And I think that it's a responsibility for anyone in the lifestyle, even if that's not what you're into, why would you discourage or insult that? One of the things that I heard someone say, and I'm sure he's going to hear this podcast and he's going to know I'm talking about him. If someone does that, they're not a man. Well,
but I had a woman.
I've had somebody tell me, if you let somebody fuck your wife, you're not a man. Now this person didn't know I was in lifestyle, but had he known I was in lifestyle, and had I not been in in an environment where I couldn't say it out loud, it's like, look me now and tell me I'm not a man.
But here's the thing: I've had a woman actually say to me that if a guy does anything by her, if he's a cuck, that he must be gay, or he's not manly, and that this, that, and the other. And she is with the most feminine guy I've ever met.
Well.
So I'm like, how can you even say that? So we skipped right over that subject
But you also go back to the fact that oftentimes people will say things because they're trying to deflect.
Yes.
From their lifestyle and what they're doing.
But again, I think it goes back to either what you said. It goes back to me of not understanding. Just like whenever, everyone's going to think I'm crazy, but like whenever my parents found out that I was a swinger, they don't know what a swinger is. They watch the stupid reality TV shows that are the most dramatic swingers ever. And that's just automatically what they think it is. But it's just, that's not a fucking reality, And then just like you said, because they've had some trauma, or they may have that tendency, that type of sexual tendency, but they want to overcompensate it so that people don't think that they do. Because it's just like being in high school sometimes. You got cliques and groups and this and that and da-da-da-da-da, and you're like, what the fuck? I thought we were all just supposed to be open and just do crazy shit.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, the best part about lifestyle is that I can go to fucking work every day, take care of the kids, be a mom, be a good wife. Am I a good wife sometimes?
All the time.
It's being funny. But I can do all of these regular day-to-day things and also let the fuck loose, completely loose, when we go into lifestyle events. And then I feel it's like a stress reliever for me. Then we go back into regular life like nothing happened. On Monday we're back to work and doing our regular shit. So to me, that is like the best part, is not living the double
outside of reality.
Yes, and living the double life, because we live a fantasy that so many people want, but they can't open up enough to tell their significant other or anybody else that, hey, I crave another BBC, or hey, I crave a BBC in general, or I crave a BWC because your dick is not as big as I would like it to be.
The things that you want, the things that you desire, I think that in the lifestyle, you should have access to those things without judgment. Because like I said, I'll say it over and over. When you're in the lifestyle, 99% of the people out there are going to judge you.
That girl looks like a crack whore.
Wow. Outstanding. Well, I'll tell you what, everybody. I fucked that crack whore.
Daddy, she legit looks like a crack whore with huge tits.
Right now.
Anyways,
right now,
okay. All right, sorry. That was
judging me right
random
now.
Thoughts of Mrs. Mocha.
Okay,
we're going to start doing that every day.
If
go ahead.
that's what a crack whore looks like, I'm fucking her, okay?
Go ahead.
She's a little thin. But her
understatement.
huge breast make up for it. Anyways, I digress. You made me lose my fucking thought. What was I talking
I'm
about?
so sorry. Can anybody remind us what Mr. Mocha was talking about? I told him not to turn the
Somebody help me out. What was I talking about before my wife insulted this poor, huge breast?
Listen,
woman?
you can see the chick's implants.
Yeah.
Like the whole implant from just her skin.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
I won't judge you. We were just talking about judging people.
You hear the double standard of my wife right now? I'm going to reiterate that. Like,
I'm sorry. But yeah, I think as far as any dynamic in the lifestyle goes, you should be able to walk into anywhere and no one should be, which is not realistic, but
yeah,
you should be able to walk into anywhere without judgment.
Yeah,
but
because you're already judged by like 99% of the population for being in the lifestyle.
Yep.
So why would you get into the lifestyle when there's so many people in the lifestyle have these conversations about how people judge them and everybody's looking for privacy and secrecy. You're in this secret society, and then all of a sudden you get into the lifestyle and there's some guy who does something that you don't agree with. You're like, oh, let me judge that guy. I'm going to judge that guy. Like,
here's the thing. So like, and we're just going to throw this out there, but really, if men are there's a good percentage of men that like to see a woman play with another woman, what's the fucking difference if I like to see a dude suck another dude's dick?
Well, I mean, going back to if that turns you on.
Yes.
You should have the right to enjoy that without judgment. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like I said, I enjoy.
But how many men have we met that will actually admit, like, hey, I would do that? You know what I mean? Like, if we could have, a hand raise for that.
I mean, there's
minute to win it.
Few people who, guys who admit to it, but. For us, when we counsel couples and we're counseling couples and they're telling us how many guys they've had these experiences with, they won't say the name, but they tell us how many guys they've had the experience with. Mm-hmm. You know that there are a lot of guys out there who will indulge, but once again, they can't openly indulge because you have the couples who don't agree with it.
But there's also a bunch of males that I know that will actually admit to it, but some of them will just say, like, if you've done that, if you haven't let another cuck or just a cuck or another dude suck your dick, then you're lying. It's just
that's a bold statement.
I had a few people say it to me, but I mean, that was his thing, and I guess by him admitting and saying that out loud, he had quite a few people.
He had to go ahead and bring everybody else in with it.
He had quite a few people. He had a good response to it because we had a few other bulls that said, oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I have done that or I haven't done that or, whatever. So it's, again, like I said, it's a stigma, which fucking sucks. Yeah. But there are certain things that just are not fun. But if, we want to make a secret society of that, then we will. But I think also
it's being able to be who you are, how you are, and not judged by anyone else. Like, bottom line is whatever you enjoy doing, as long as you're not, doing any shit that is illegal.
Just say illegal, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not doing illegal, examples. I mean, don't try to fuck my poodle or nothing like that. I mean, as long as you're not doing
now
any
he's
weird
your
shit.
Poodle?
No, well, I mean,
here's my dog. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. But anyways, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, and you're an adult, and this is about to be 2022. Like, you should be able to be open and free about the things that you enjoy. I mean, we understand that, no, you can't necessarily do it if you want to have access to all the couples you may want to have access to. But, we can just say that, for the women out there who want to be sexually free and the men out there who want to be sexually free, Old Faces support you.
Yeah, we're here. And like we've said several times, if you want to come on, we won't even say your name if you don't want us to ask questions. Ask questions, comment. Say what's on your mind. Because we do enjoy the feedback. That's one of the big reasons why we decided to jump on Spaces. Start doing Spaces on a regular basis, because it is nice to get that instant feedback. And, we get people who email us or DM us to ask questions about what they heard on the show. And it's like, hey,
jump in, listen, and dive in right there and ask the question. And don't be afraid to ask it. There's no question that you can ask that. Well, I'm not going to say.
But
that.
I had a really good conversation with the few guys from yesterday that actually jumped on, and even like a few couples. Like it was hold on. I'm just gonna look. It was a good conversation though.
Yeah, she's about to try to read through 1,000 messages.
No, right. I know I'm not going to. He just asked about like our dynamics, and I told him we had several dynamics. Like we have, because we do. We're several different.
We don't have several dynamics.
Not dynamics. We're several different.
Inclusive. The way we play is we have our mentality is we do what feels good to us. When it comes to with me, I enjoy Mrs. Mocha having fun, and so like I'm completely comfortable with her playing with a single guy.
We have someone trying to jump on.
Let him jump in. You know, we're putting you on, but let me finish my statement. Then you can jump in. But with Miss Mocha, when you're looking at our dynamic, you know, number one, she gets to play with single guys. I mean, I'm not a jealous person at all, and I enjoy her enjoying herself. I get to play with single females and couples. She's not jealous at all. You know, she allows me to have fun and enjoy myself. We also play with couples together. So, you know, for us, we do a lot more than most couples. Most couples have a certain way of playing. We just do what feels right at the moment. You know, for the most part, I don't think I've ever denied Mrs. Mocha anything that she wants. If she goes, hey, I want to do this, I'm like, yeah, go for it. Yeah. You know, and
I feel like I'm the same way.
Yeah, she's very much the same way.
Yeah. I don't think we've
Megan and I actually had a funny conversation last night before the podcast about, you know, the fact that Mrs. Mocha actually allowed me to play with one of my ex-girlfriends, and she's like, wow, she actually did that? I'm like, yeah, she did. She did. I mean, so I'm one of the very few guys who I legitimately can't complain about anything. I'll try to find shit to complain about.
Let's just go a step further. It was Mr. Mocha's ex-girlfriend that he broke up with for me.
Yeah. and she allowed it. So, like, our dynamics, I mean, we are just very sexually open. For us, the power in our dynamics is our communication.
But by the time that she had reached out to you, I said to him, like, you know, I trust you. I don't have to trust her. Exactly. I trust that you'll do the right thing. And if you don't, then karma's coming around, motherfucker.
Yeah. So, I mean, that our dynamic is just we do what's fun. And the intimacy is that at the end of anything that we do, we come back together and we share it. So that's our dynamic when people are asking. Who jumped in there with us? Who's on with us?
Live to Train. You're on, buddy.
Live to Train. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? So we were talking about this earlier tonight, Miss Mocha, but, you know, and maybe part of the reason people aren't as willing to be open about any of this or talk about any of this is because of porn and the stigma that it actually gives in a light.
You still there?
He muted. He just
yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, he was just saying like that when he would have discussions with certain people, more open discussions with certain people, that it would turn into, they would think that it was more pornish, is how he put it.
Well, no, take the topic you were just talking about. Like, if a dude sucks another dude, he must be gay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, whether it's cuckold porn or anything like that, if it's forced that way, then those people see it as that man must be gay instead of just exploring something that two people want to share or three people want to share. You know, so it develops a stigma in the mind that carries out later through life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I will say this, and I've said it openly before, you know, growing up, you know, everything goes back to what society's expectations are, the way you were raised, where you come from. You know, for us, you know, we grew up in an environment where, you know, a guy can be anything but gay. You know, in fact, if like that was the worst insult that you can throw at somebody, you know, it's kind of like you can talk about my mom or you can call me gay. I mean, that's just how it was. So as you grow up, you have this mentality that is wrong. And then even, you know, for a person like me growing up where, I've never disliked someone because of what they did. But, there's a certain mentality that you had about that. And so I know when I met Mrs. Mocha, because I was the first person always to say I have no respect for a person that's a fucking bigot or a racist. And Mrs. Mocha is the one, because I would joke around with my family on the phone and I would throw out, different words, words that would be typically considered gay bashing, and Mrs. Mocha would get pissed off. And, she finally says, hey, and she never says the word, but she's like, well, how would you feel if somebody's just throwing around the N-word? And I'm like, oh, that's different. She's like, no, it's not different. It's not different. And so, like, she really changed my mentality on it. And so once she opened up my eyes to it, I realized society for so many years has said it's okay to say certain things and it's okay to do certain things. So, once I realized how that was, then it kind of changed my perspective on things. It changed the way I looked at things. It's like, okay.
Because I had to say to him, like, the same thing that we've said on the episode. I'm like, just because the dude's gay doesn't mean he's trying to stick his dick in your butt, man. Like, just, it's okay.
Yeah. And then it also came to the next step where it was like, okay, well, when you have guys in a lifestyle who choose, who decide, hey, I want to experience different things, you can't expect people to not judge you while you're judging others.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that most people are still learning. I mean, once again, we're going into 2022 where, there's a lot of things that's more and more acceptable, but there's still, a lot of those old mentalities out there because let's be honest, we were raised by people who had those mentalities, and
it's a different era.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, thank goodness that we kind of broke that wall down for you, because we ended up having some kids that were bi and a few that were gay.
Exactly. Exactly. That was, and once again, like I was never a kind of person I never disliked the person for it, but I also didn't have that compassion, or I never had the mentality that
he was never rude.
If somebody says something about a person who was gay, like I was like, oh, that's no big deal. I'm not gay, so it doesn't matter. But then, it came down to the fact that, I realized, like, wait a minute.
But if someone said something real shitty about a black person in front of you, then you would be super offended, pissed. Yeah.
But, it took my wife to change my mentality on it and then make me more open and receptive and accepting to people. And then, being in this lifestyle that I brought her into, is like, how can I judge anyone when society says that the fact that I allow my wife to go to Splash Mocha and get fucking pile drive by 25 dudes, in a week, how can I judge some guy because he wants to do something that I don't necessarily do? Yeah. Like, where is the difference at? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh. And that's why even when she started to really open up about her other fantasies, where she's like, hey, I want to have sex with two bi guys. I want to have sex with a transgender. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, by that point, she had prepped me well enough to where it wasn't a second thought. It wasn't something that, I saw as strange, because, I realized that everybody sees my lifestyle as strange.
And very shortly after that was when two of our kids told us that they were bi.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Well, no, it was spaced apart quite distantly. One was like, hey, but guess what, by the way? And then the other one, a few years later, was like, oh, guess what, by the way? Which, once again, it's that accepting. And, of course, having kids who identify differently also helps open up my mind. And I think that's why it was pretty exciting last night when she had the conversation on the Dirty Girls Corner, and we jumped back into that conversation today, where it's like, I'm just, let's be fair about it. Let's accept everyone for what they want to do. And, like I said, what's interesting to me is, like, I know couples who won't play with a certain guy because they're like, okay, well, I know that he is bisexual, right? But they play with this other guy who we know
is bisexual.
We won't tell them that because it's none of their fucking business.
Right.
But the only difference is one guy was honest and the other guy wasn't. And so it kind of entertains the shit out of me that...
He wants.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That was part of my question, though. So, like, going back to what you're talking about, you know, we can look at it in the sexual aspect where definitely, yes, if you're sucking a dick, maybe that comes off as looking gay because of what we see in porn. However, I'm sure all of us here love sports, whereas you watch football or basketball or any other sport, you watch guys patting each other on the ass all the time, saying good game. Mm-hmm. And even though that could technically be looked at as a sexual act, it's not, but it's because of the context.
Well, it's because it's become socially acceptable because we're just playing football and slapping each other on the butt. Who cares?
But I mean,
if somebody else, if you dude sucks another dude's dick, then oh god.
That's what I'm saying. So I look at everything as in the context, and it's like last night when you were talking about dudes getting their ass ate. Mm-hmm. You know, because the stigma that I carried through everything was way different to where somebody actually said, "Hey, look, you just got to try it to figure out."
Yep.
You know what's what.
Yep.
But it was not just the stigma that society had. It was a stigma that I formed it myself. If it was something that I enjoyed, like I said, like sports, you know, whatever, dude hit me on the ass. However, if I was sitting in a bedroom and it came randomly, that might piss me off a little bit more. And I think that has a lot to do with this lifestyle, mm-hmm. where what we see in porn is what we perceive as reality compared to what, if we look at it in a different light, is something way different. And that changes the whole stigma behind everything.
The thing is, though, I think people, even with porn, people keep their eyes very focused on one thing. They don't realize all of the shit that's out there. Because I can say, for me, like, I do watch a lot of different porn, but there are some that I'm like, well, I'm just not as interested in those. But I agree with you as far as that goes. I completely agree.
But also, being that I'm a very direct human being, I will say this. You know,
you watch a lot of porn.
Oh, we know I watch a lot of fucking porn.
Yeah, I know.
But I think that there's two things that I'll look at when I'll talk about that you brought up. Number one, I mean, when someone goes, okay, well, if you let a guy suck your dick or you suck a guy's dick, you're gay. To me, at the end of the day, everyone's gonna say you are really, or aren't. Though? But here's the question: those are just fucking word games. Who gives a fuck? The first question is, what do you personally enjoy sexually? That's what it comes to. And the next thing is, the problem is, so many people fight their own natures and desires. And that's where, to me, you get a lot of angry fucking people because, you know, they're mad because they can't express themselves. Like, we have friends who want to be swingers. Like, we know they want to be swingers. They talk and they make these comments, but they're quick to be judgmental when it comes to what we're doing. So whether we're swingers or white swappers, what does it matter? This is fucking semantics now. Who gives a shit? We know it feels good to us. So for me, when people have that internal battle, or do I want to call this gay, or do I want to call this straight, or they're trying to put a title to something. My question is, does that particular thing feel good to you, and why is there a struggle as to what it's named? You
know what we could call it? Free play.
I like that. So
it would be considered a free play. Yeah, you do what you want to do. It doesn't have to be gay or straight, or there doesn't have to be a particular label for it.
But the thing is, it goes back to this. No matter what you call it gay, call it straight, call it free play, call it curious, call it your own fucking business. It's what you enjoy.
Right, because that's why we all do it.
The worst thing, and this will be my words of wisdom for today. Mm-hmm. The worst thing you can do to yourself is lie to yourself.
Yeah, about what you really like. Want. Yeah.
You can lie to me. You can lie to everybody in the world, but don't lie to yourself, because you create this inner conflict. Yeah. You have a desire for something and you're trying to convince yourself you don't have a desire for it because it's not the right thing to do.
But why restrict yourself when you're in the right environment?
And not only that, even if you choose not to do it, you don't have to do it, but don't lie about your desires. This is what feels good to me. And why do I have to explain myself to someone else? The only person I've got to explain myself to is the person that I am doing it with.
Wait, Joe Blow has a comment.
Kiss my ass.
So that's what I'm saying, though. So the whole point of that was, we have all these stigmas, and then we look at them in two different directions. So, like you said, you do a lot of counseling with couples, which is awesome. But is it because the way it is trying to be explained, maybe in other areas, is that we're still judging a stigma on a stigmatism? Like you said, we're putting a label to it instead of just exploring the action.
Well, I mean, I think that when we talk to other people, one thing I find is that when someone has told you your whole life that something is bad, it's very difficult. I mean, so it's the same as the female experience where
you're a product of your environment.
Yeah, you have women who we talk to, especially females who ask Mrs. Mocha, how are you the way you are? How do you do this? Because their whole lives they've been taught, well, if you fuck more than one guy, you're a whore. Or if you do what men do, you're a whore. So now you want to do it. You see someone else do it. You have the desire, but you have been
I did it other than the years
life.
I was married.
Well, I mean, we're not talking about with you. We're talking about on average. I mean, it's kind of like when you look at the military trains you and trains you and trains you and trains you to do a certain thing until you do it by mistake. You do it under fire. You're not thinking this is what your body will do as a reflex. It's the same thing with your sexuality. The same thing with your sexual desires. You're told your entire life that this is what sex is supposed to be. Heterosexual experience between a man and a woman. You get married, and if you want to fuck more than one person, you lie about it and say only fuck one person. If you want to do this, you have to lie about it. So now when it's time to do it, the challenge that we found with most people is it's an internal battle. It's not even so much external. It's not so much about what people say. It's you're fighting yourselves because that constant training, you've been trained for 30 years to do something a certain way. And now all of a sudden you want to express yourself and do it different?
I said something the other day to somebody. I can't remember who I said it, but I said, if you say it out loud, you probably want someone to hear it. So even if they're saying it out loud in a derogatory way, because I think some people say things, like you said, down to being gay or whatever. They'll talk shit about someone else because they're overcompensating for what they really want to do.
And we know those people.
Yeah.
We know those people.
I do that often. Just kidding. No, but I just, yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I think that most of it is just, it's just reflex. It's just, you've been trained to do something so long. It's so hard to do something different.
Terrible example, but KKK. People that are in the KKK, that still exists down here. And that's what they're raised. Somebody has pushed in their head their whole freaking life. Hey, this is how you have to be, and this is why these people are this way, and da 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 da. You can maybe change their mind, but there's a very small likelihood of that because that has been. I mean, they bring the Bible into it, and they
gradual process. It's the same thing as sexuality. If the person that taught you how to brush your teeth and tie your shoes, and the person that you trusted the most with your whole life told you that this is what sexuality is supposed to be, and this is the thing that you're raised on. When it's time to shift that opinion, it's challenging. It's almost like changing religions. It's exactly like changing religions. Very few people change their religious views over the course of their lives. And that's the same thing with it is with most people with swinging. Your entire life you've been taught this is supposed to be. You may think differently, but how many people are going to openly say, hey, I no longer believe in this religion that my parents and my grandparents follow. I'm going to go to this. So that's why I said, I mean, at the end of the day, everything when it comes to your sexuality is going to come down to, number one, you being honest with yourself and knowing what you like. You don't have to put a label to it. This is what makes, I always say, the dick don't lie. The pussy don't lie. If this makes my dick hard, this is what I like. I just got to find somebody who like what I like. And then after that, who gives a shit about what everybody else says?
But how long did it take for you just to get out of me that what I was doing when you weren't around? I lied to Mr. Mocha for a while.
Yeah, when we first got
I did because I just felt that.
She was worried that I would judge her or look at her differently if I knew that she liked to fuck a lot of dick.
I mean, I told you my dad's a preacher, so I came up very religious, and you weren't supposed to do this or talk about your desires or this. So when Mr. Mocha was like, "What are your fantasies?" I told him some lame ass fantasy that probably wasn't even real.
But I married a preacher's daughter, so I knew what I was getting.
You did. I mean, I was always a whore. I just was a secret whore for a long time before I met you. I just was like,
"This is why I love this woman."
Oh, we fucking everybody. I'm just not going to tell anybody. Like I said, the week that I met Mr. Mocha, I didn't even shave my pussy. I was like, oh, I'm not fucking this motherfucker. I already fucked 7 dicks this week in 3 days.
She didn't shave her pussy for 3 days, so she had that little red fuzz. It was so pretty. Little fire crotch.
I know. I did have it.
But we digress.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, I mean, it's hard for some people to admit that because your brain is conditioned to be a certain way or how society thinks you should be. And it's the same, it applies the same to women. Like I was telling Joe Blow, he's going to laugh because we're going to make up a different name for you next time, okay? But live to train. I forgot what I was saying. Shit.
I don't know. I mean, I still stick to the thought that when it comes to being sexually open and sexually free, the first battle you have to deal with is the internal battle with yourself and accepting what you desire, you know. And then after that, the next thing is finding like-minded individuals, because a lot of people deny themselves the experiences that they want because they're not finding the right like-minded individuals. Mm-hmm. And I found that to be true with a lot of cuckold couples, a lot of hot wife couples, a lot of bulls, where you have a couple who want to experience a certain thing, but they keep settling because they haven't found the right person. Mm-hmm. Let me phrase that. They haven't admitted what they're actually looking for, number one.
Yep.
And then number two, they're not actually seeking out what they're actually looking for. And then the last thing is this. The question you really have to ask yourself is this. If you have identified what you enjoy, if you've identified your tribe or your circle of people you can enjoy it with, who would you trade all those great experiences for? Would you trade those to say, I would rather not do it because I'm worried about with this, you know, person who don't pay my bills, who don't manage my life, who can't do anything for me, what they have to say? You know, would you trade that?
Yeah, because I don't want to say we've lost any friends, but we've shied away from some people not because we didn't want to be friends with them or talk to them anymore, but just
their
because they had a different mentality than we did. And for me, like you can ask Mr. Mocha, I'm very nice. So I always tell him, be nice. Like I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't want to be mean to people, blah, blah, blah. But we cannot talk to you.
Yeah, I'm not mean. Like to me, like I'm not big on judgmental people. I'm a very direct person. So if you do something that I don't like, I will tell you right up front, like, hey, I don't like that. But we've had people who
the time that someone tried to stick their finger in your ass.
Yeah, that's
several times.
Hey, that's not what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
but that's just because that's not comfortable to me. I don't find pleasure in that. Now, you know, if you want to, you know, lick my balls and give your ass a little lick there, then I'm good with that. But don't try to stick your finger.
Has someone done that before?
Yeah, you're gonna do it later.
See, but that goes back to what I was saying earlier, though. Mm-hmm. You know, because there is such a stigma, and I agree with you. But so when I joined the military 17 years ago, it's really when I started opening up to even find the right group. Because, you know, I don't know how many podcasts are out there nowadays talking about this stuff. And it focuses so much on the acts instead of finding who you are in the act to get the right people around you. And, you know, in all these, it's looking at it like this is a tool. You've been raised with a tool, but it's not the only tool that you can use. You know, it might just start out as one person that you're in a bed with compared to 4 people. Mm-hmm. And then you find that it becomes easier. But I do believe it's the way we portray it and how we're explaining it that allows people to see there's one way. Mm-hmm. And then there's another way that you can get the same thing from, but it might be better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. And based on everyone's dynamic, there's not like one answer to everything. There's multiple, just depends on what you want or don't want.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said it's very internal. Yeah. But I do get what you're saying, because you know, unfortunately in our society, the power of our society it's kind of like pop culture, you know, certain people and certain groups tell people what they're supposed to like and what this means. If you like this, this is what it means. You know, I think it just comes down to us removing the power of other people to determine what we like. Mm-hmm. You know, and like you said, you know, when there's a huge difference in our country and in our world from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 17 years ago. Like now, you know, with all of the different movements that are there, you know, some to me are very extreme, but then there's some that are very beneficial to our lifestyle. You know, at this point, you can take advantage of it because at the end of the day, you know, you can no longer say out loud to me, oh, well, you can't live this lifestyle. Like even down to a professional sense, you can no longer shame me for being in the lifestyle. Because if you are not allowed to shame a lesbian couple, if you can't shame a gay couple, if you can't shame a trans couple,
if you can't shame an interracial couple,
swinger couple, you can't shame me for embracing my sexuality. And honestly, I think that that's one of the things that was a power that society had over people before, which is kind of going away. You know, you can no longer judge.
There was the 70s when there was like free love and fuck everybody, and they didn't even do like STD checks and shit. So they're out here raw dogging.
We want STD. We want to make sure everything's clean. But
did you say STD?
Yeah, you know,
ST.
Those are the tongue twisters for me. But yeah, I do definitely think that there's a lot of power in the way people describe things and the way people explain things and the way it's sold. Because how many times have you heard something 50 times and then one guy comes along and explains it differently? You're like, oh shit, now I know how to put that together. You know, it's the same thing with sexuality. You know, you have other people saying, oh, well, if you do this, this is who you are. If you do that, this is who you are. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, one person comes on and say, hey, this is acceptable and it's okay. And you're like, oh, great.
I mean, just like I said,
left.
I see you. Just like,
she used to work at the Pony.
Oh, that's good. She's on porno now. NaughtyAmerica.com. I think, and I don't want to say because I don't think we've had very many encounters with it, but just like there's bi males out there, or just guys that are, what do you call it, bi-curious? That want to do like certain things because it's their desire. We haven't experienced a lot of it, but we have experienced a little bit of, I don't want to say racism. How would you put it?
I mean, we've had.
I wouldn't say racism because I would say that they would.
I wouldn't say racism. We have experienced people who are challenged with the idea of playing with, you know, people outside their race. Which to me, once again, that doesn't bother me at all. It turns you on. But
they can't handle the fact that their wife may have sex with Mr. Mocha that has. You know,
now that annoys me. Like it's one thing for you not to be turned on by something, but it's another thing for your wife to say, hey, your wife to go, you know, I'd love to play with you, but my husband is not comfortable with me playing with a black guy. So now you have someone restricting you. He's restricting your desires.
There's a stigma on that also because you've played with a couple more recently that wasn't into that. And you had
they are now.
Exactly, and she is now. So, I mean, there's stigmas on everything, I think. We just want to make it more, like I said, to live to train earlier. We want to make it more of the norm, quotations, because there's just a lot of things that there should, because we're such a judgment-free, quotations, judgment-free zone, there's a lot of things that I want to touch on specifically on the podcast just to make sure that people will have a second thought just from one word that I say or just from a sentence that we talk about. You know what I mean? They'll take it in a different light because we've said something on it, you know?
Yeah.
And I agree with you, but, you know, I was raised way different. Like I said, it took me going to the military. I think, well, I told you I've always been into a certain kink lifestyle. But it wasn't until I went to the military and I realized how many different people were out there. Now I can look at it and say, well, I know I'm not in the cuckold lifestyle, but there's nothing that's going to stop me from looking at a woman that I'm with and going, you want to fuck that dude?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's fucking awesome.
but we've never allowed a new way of teaching this, like with school, unfortunately, and I don't understand it, but they're doing what we should be doing in this lifestyle. They're changing the way they explain math every 2 minutes.
Right.
Whereas here we stick with, this is what you've seen. This is kind of where it goes. This is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Changing that mindset, the taking like Mr. Mocha said, taking all the terms out of it. But then not only that, changing the stigmas that come with it. Okay. Mm-hmm. It might be gay if you suck a dick, but it also might be gay if you smack that dude's ass. Mm-hmm. So which is worse?
I mean, some people may consider that me licking Mr. Mocha's ass is gay because they don't want, that's
I
not
can guarantee you that's not gay. That's just good feelings.
No, you are correct on that. But I'm just saying some people may consider that an active gay because it's not the norm.
What's really weird to me is...
I'm sorry, honey, that I licked your butthole.
Yeah. I think the strangest thing to me is that, as far back as you can look in history, as far back as human history goes, sexuality has never changed.
Nope.
The varieties of sexual desires have never changed.
I'm telling you, my favorite...
And so the weird thing to me is that this has been going on for as long as mankind has been fucking writing on stones, and people still have a challenge with the fact that everybody's sexuality is not yours.
And can I just say that, and this may be like a little extreme, but I feel like a lot of that is an Americanized stigma because Europeans are I've talked to quite a few Europeans on just like SDC and various sites, and there's not as many.
It's just not as bad,
right? There's not. I'm saying there's not as many male stigmas in those environments from a few people that we've spoken to. I don't want to say that it's not non-existent because that's not the case, but it is more socially acceptable in European countries than it is in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep in
mind, I want to visit just because of that.
Compared to a lot of European countries, I mean, we're still somewhat prude. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, we're getting better. We're opening up. Last few years, the kind of different movements have like really springboarded us into what I would consider is to the sexual, kind of equal, starting to compare to the level of sexuality that you find in different countries. But don't get me wrong. I mean, that stigma is all over the world. I mean, him being in the military, I'm sure he can tell you that stigma is everywhere. It just tends to be worse here.
I agree. But all I was saying was that European culture seems a lot more open. Mm-hmm. Not just to bisexual or gay or anything like that. Just sexually in general, they have less rules because there were Mr. Mocha used to travel a lot, and there were several couples that were we're just going to say European, and they had no problem asking if they could suck Mr. Mocha's dick, and I was like, well, I don't think he'll be okay with that, but I can talk to him.
It's not my thing. I mean, and here's the thing, like I don't.
But it surprised me that they would ask.
But like if I would just tell somebody like, hey, no, I'll play, but that's just not what I want to do.
Let's put it this way: Mr. Mocha was you weren't in Europe, you were in Spain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Sorry, that was porn. My bad.
Turn
so
it
sorry.
off.
That was accident.
So you got the thing on.
Where was that?
You were in Spain.
No, you sure?
Venezuela or Spain? I can't remember. Anyways, Mr. Mocha was in it. You were in a Latin country. Yeah. So we have this couple like messaging back and forth, and we're using Google Translate because I don't know enough Spanish to, dig my way out of a hole. Trying to like get her to come play with him. Blah blah blah. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, we'll be there." She loves BBC, this, that, and the other, and I'm like, "Okay, cool." So Mr. Mocha is super excited because we actually had more success on STC when he was out of the country versus in the United States. Like we had a lot more success out of the country. So long story short, the chick the guy or the lady's husband messages and says, "Oh shit, she started her period." And I was like, "Oh, no big deal. Like, he'll be fine. Whatever." So I messaged him.
He'll be fine.
I messaged Mr. Mocha like, "Hey, sorry, he said she started her period." But I responded to him too soon because the guy messaged back and he was like, "But she'll do anal." And I was like, "Holy shit. Okay." You don't remember that?
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely remember that.
Yeah. So that night he had a play date and he got to fuck the chick in the ass. And I think I think it was so exciting for him because we had to use Google Translate. And then they called your hotel phone. You didn't understand anything they were saying. Yeah. And we still had to use Google Translate the whole time they were in the room. But it was more of like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And
that digression was just to explain that you are correct. I mean, I think that a lot of European cultures are more sexually open than ours.
Sorry.
And I do believe that as far as it goes to creating more sexual openness, our friend from the military, I think he is very correct on the way that things are put across and the fact that, the stigmas are maintained. And unfortunately, I think the stigmas are maintained the strongest by the people who really have those secret desires.
Yeah.
So the only way, in my opinion, to kind of combat that is, identify what you want, then also be aware that your boundaries are going to change. When you first get in a lifestyle, the things that you're okay with are going to change. They're going to change. They're going to change. So, just
and with a lot of that, though, I've found, like, I don't know if I would suck a dick, but I just don't know. But like for me, and I get what you're saying. What feels good to you. Mm-hmm. But for me, with my partner. And again, if she wants to fuck anybody, I'm down for that. My pleasure comes from her pleasure. Like I want to see the excitement, the change, the wild, the things that she doesn't necessarily say, but she says. Because actions speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So I mean, and I don't think I'd ever suck a dick, and I haven't taken a strap on the ass. But if that was something that brought out a new change or excitement, it might be something I'm down to look at anyways, or talk about, discuss further.
Yeah. Rather
than just cutting off.
I mean, and I think that attitude is what a lot of people are missing, where it's one of those things where it's like the whole concept of never say never. I mean, there's the concept of never say never when it comes to certain things. If that's just not something, we do know certain things that we're just not into, but if you feel like, hey, I'm not sure if I'll do it, I don't know, that means you're still open to that. And the things that you're open to, I think that you should have the freedom to continue to grow. Because I know that the things that when it comes to boundary pushing with myself, Mrs. Mocha, mm-hmm. We have talked about the different things that we want, that we're interested in as far as pushing boundaries and doing different things.
Yep.
And when we have those discussions, it's like, hey, how do you feel about this? She'll say, hey, usually at this point, when we first got together, I was the boundary pusher. Now she's more the boundary pusher. My wife's a fucking pervert, and I love it. But, I like your attitude where it's like, hey, I understand that maybe right now this is not what I'm into. I can't say what I won't be into as far as in that direction, because we have our direction that we move into. And in the direction of kink that we're into, like, I can't necessarily say, like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to like. Now, there's certain things that I know I'm not going to like because, I mean, I know what turns me on and what does not turn me on.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm very, like, I'm very, very alpha. I know what I want. I know what I don't like.
You're an alpha? Oh, my God.
You want to be surprised?
Do I want to be surprised by an alpha?
You want to be surprised later?
Fuck yeah. Challenge accepted.
Well, listen, guys, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us this evening. Yep. We decided to jump on and have a little bit of fun since, we're here. Mrs. Mocha's wearing a see-through outfit, which means she's going to get herself in trouble in about 5 minutes.
No, in 5 minutes, I'm going to be having some snacks.
You can have snacks while I'm poking you.
Poking me with what? Your penis?
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you guys jump in and do this with us again. And What was the code name?
Thank you for Live to Train for jumping in, and Alex again.
Joe Blow.
No, he might not like that name. I just gave him that because we were talking about it earlier. But thank you, Alex and gentlemen, BBC Bull TX, Dark Mister, and Buster Guster. Okay. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Guys, please, if you listen to our podcast, we do our live recordings on times like this. Please subscribe. We appreciate you guys supporting us, and we will be back on. Wait a minute, you're out of town next week.
Mrs. Mocha will be out of town.
So I may have to jump on and have fun by myself without the boss.
No, you should actually jump on the Dirty Girls Corner with Megan and Carrie, so that it's still going.
Oh, that'll be a disaster. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, you got this. So, anyways,
fuck your friends while you're out of town.
I don't care.
I know you don't.
You can fuck. I assume that you're going to be a super hoe, but we gotta go.
All right.
Thank you guys again for joining in, and goodbye from the
Mochas.